they're basically giving the benefit of the doubt to the respondent, to the one who's being accused. So for petitioners who file this, it has to truly be egregious behavior. I'm Adam Rossen from the Rossen Law Firm, and in today's video series, we're going to be talking about restraining orders, commonly called injunctions in the state of Florida. Now, there's a few types of restraining orders in Florida. You can have stalking, domestic violence, sexual violence, cyber stalking or cyber sexual harassment, or even repeat violence. So there's quite a bit of these. We're going to go over all of these in the series. But for today's video, I specifically want to talk about the definitions and elements of a stalking restraining order, because those are the most common ones that we see here in the state of Florida. Now, with stalking restraining orders, it's civil in nature. So this is non-criminal. Now, you can have a stalking crime or you can file a restraining order. So I'm going to be talking today about the civil injunction, the civil restraining order based on stalking. When we talk a little bit about the penalties, in another video, we'll talk about the civil penalties and potential criminal penalties for that crime. But for the civil stalking restraining order, there's two elements that the petitioner needs to prove. And the petitioner is the one who's filing for the restraining order. The respondent is the one who is responding or defending against the restraining order. Now, the petitioner needs to prove two elements against the respondent in order to win this case. The first one is intentionality. So it's willfully, maliciously, or repeatedly. So they have to prove that the respondent meant to do these actions, okay? It can't just be an accident or a mistake. So the first element is basically intentionality. The second element is harassed. And harassment is basically defined as two separate things. The first one is that it must cause substantial emotional distress. And when the courts look at substantial emotional distress, they look at it from an objective standard, not a subjective standard. So what does that mean in layman's, normal people terms, right? It means that how I particularly felt about this situation does not really matter. If I am overly sensitive, overly scared, it does not matter. The courts aren't going to consider that. They're going to look at this legal, fictional, reasonable person standard. What would a normal, reasonable, everyday person objectively feel based on the conduct? And the courts have said that they want to narrowly construe this. So basically say that most things are not going to cause substantial emotional distress. They want to be very narrow, very particular, because they want to only grant restraining orders if that person is truly in fear, truly being stalked, okay? Now, the second element of harassment is, well, I'll go back. So harassment is, it has to have conduct that causes substantial emotional distress. And then the second element is for no legitimate purpose. What does that mean? Well, the courts have said that, for example, if somebody owes me money and I'm calling them maybe once a day, right? Every 2 days, 3 days saying, hey, you owe me my money, or you got to do this, X, Y, and Z. Well, that's for a legitimate purpose. So that is not stalking. That is not harassment, because there's a legitimate purpose around the conduct. And what the courts have held is that kind of decision, right, from the courts, from the judges, is supposed to be very broadly construed, so very big. There's supposed to be a lot of leeway that the respondent has in the context of that. Now, why? Well, we're dealing with a lot of actions and words, and that's governed by the First Amendment. So what the courts have said is that, look, if we're going to punish somebody and basically take away their First Amendment rights, freedom of speech, then it really has to serve no legitimate purpose at all. And if there's any type of legitimate purpose, the First Amendment is so strong, so powerful, so important that we're not trampling on those freedoms that people have in our country. What this is intentional repeated conduct that harasses somebody. And the definition of harassment is something that causes substantial emotional distress and serves no legitimate purpose. And the substantial emotional distress is narrowly construed, and whether it serves a legitimate purpose or not is broadly construed. And both of those subsections, they're basically giving the benefit of the doubt to the respondent, to the one who's being accused. So for petitioners who file this, it has to truly be egregious behavior. Now, in the next few videos, we're going to talk about penalties. We're going to be talking about what happens if you violate a restraining order. We'll be talking about the other types of restraining orders. So we're going to make this a whole comprehensive series. So stick with us, and we hope you enjoy everything. If you have any questions about restraining orders, feel free, give us a call here at the Rossen Law Firm, 754-206-6200.